What happened to your fingers?
Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is a crazy game.
Oh, okay. Well, hi guys. I'm Mark Rodriguez.
I'm Johnny Rodriguez,
And I'm Angel, and you're watching the Video Game Masters.
You again, huh?
Yep, and today we're talking about Sega's answer to Final Fight. That's right, this episode is about the classic beat-em-up trilogy, Streets of Rage.
It's not just me, right? I mean, you hear it too, right?
Unfortunately.
For this episode, let's use Sega's second Genesis model. The only weird thing is the hookup. Now back then, most of the older systems had this kind of hookup. This was for Nintendo, but it still fits for your Super Nintendo and for the first Genesis system. But no, Sega had to be all weird and innovative, had to use this other doohickey to hook it up. Well, let's hook it up and play some Streets of Rage.
Out on the heels of Double Dragon and Final Fight's success, Sega released Streets of Rage for the Genesis in 1991. Known as Bare Knuckle in Japan, the game didn't have the large graphics that the Capcom game had, but it did have the awesome two-player beat-em-up action fans of the SNES Final Fight missed.
Another thing to note was the awesome music composed by Yuzo Koshiro. The rocking soundtrack showed what the Genesis was really made of back in the day. The game story deals with a city being taken over by Mr. X and his crime syndicate. 3 ex-cops thought enough was enough and decided to take down Mr. X themselves. They are Adam Hunter, Axel Stone, and Blaze Fielding.
They're in their early 20s, and they're already ex-cops?
Hey, they're just that hardcore.
The game has a lot of moves. Aside from the punches and kicks, you have different holds and throws depending on if you grab the opponent from the front or from behind. A over-the-shoulder flip helps you switch directions to decide how to attack.
Yeah, we all want to grab Blaze from behind.
Mark, shh.
You also get a cool special attack when you call your buddies from the police force to bombard the screen with bombs or missiles, taking out all the bad guys on screen. Those guys must have good aim. Like other games, the food restores your health, and weapons can be found to help you kick some ass.
You fight it out in 8 rounds to make your way to Mr. X. The levels consist of the city streets, the inner city, the beachfront, the unfinished bridge, aboard a ship, the factory, the freight elevator, and finally the syndicate headquarters.
This game also throws either 1 or 2 bosses at you per stage depending if you play 1 player or 2 player.
Another thing to mention about the game are the 2 endings it has. When you reach Mr. X, he'll ask you to be his right-hand man. If both players say yes, you get sent back a few stages and have to go through them all over again. If they both say no, you have to fight Mr. X. If one player says yes and the other says no, Mr. X makes the traitor fight the other player to the death to prove his loyalty. If you kill your friend and Mr. X, you get the bad ending where you now have to rule the city yourself.
I wouldn't mind being under Blaze's rule.
Oh, stop it. Anyways, Sega would rock the holiday season of 1992 with Streets of Rage 2. This time, graphics have been vastly improved, action is faster, and the music is even more intense.
Mr. X returns and has kidnapped Adam to lure the others into his trap. Axel and Blaze return, and with them come Adam's younger brother Skate and Axel's new friend Max. It's up to the 4 of them to take down the Syndicate one more time.
The game has 2 moves aside from the usual attacks. First off, everyone gets a blitz attack done by tapping forward twice and the attack button. Second, the cops with the missiles are gone, so now everyone gets the usual super attack most beat 'em up games have, but this game gives you 2. If you just press the super attack button, you do an attack that hits everyone around you. If you press forward and the button, you have a new attack that focuses all its damage in that direction.
The game has 8 rounds to go through, but this time they're divided into multiple sections to make them a lot longer than the first game. They are downtown, the bridge under construction, the amusement park, the baseball stadium, the ship, Mr. X's private island, the munitions plant, and the Syndicate stronghold.
The weirdest stage has got to be the amusement park. First, the scrolling in this background might make you dizzy. And then you fight in this weird funhouse with very strange background graphics, and even a stranger alien mid-boss.
What kind of funhouse is that?
What the?
Hey, isn't that the same guy for Final Fight?
Even though this guy was already in the first Streets of Rage, Y-Signal looks even more like 2P from Final Fight with Streets of Rage 2's improved graphics.
Maybe after Cody and the rest took down the Mad Gear gang, 2B tried getting a job for Mr. X.
Once you take down Mr. X, you save Adam and the city. This makes the game the only one in the series with one ending. One thing to note is that this game introduces Shiva, Mr. X's right-hand man, who will return in the next game.
The game also added a duel mode so both players can duke it out.
Streets of Rage 3 would be released in 1994 with even more moves, improved graphics, and cutscenes to explain the plot. The music was still kinda cool, but many fans felt that it wasn't as good as the first two games.
This time, the story deals with Mr. X setting bombs all over the city, as well as creating robot duplicates of city officials so that he can run the city by remote control. The new character Dr. Zahn finds out and informs Blaze, who then calls in Axel and Skate so he can take down Mr. X for the last time.
The characters can dash in this game, where in Streets of Rage 2 only Skate could. You can also roll to the top or bottom of the screen. Different weapons give certain characters new attacks like Axel's sword Ryuken. There are cooperative moves too, as well as moves that get stronger as you play the game.
The game has 7 stages, with the final stage changing depending on how well you did on the 6th one. The first 5 stages are the docks, the streets and nightclub, the construction site, the subway, and the syndicate headquarters with a fake robot Mr. X.
The 6th stage has the chief of police trapped in a building with poisonous gas. You have to go through these floors to find and destroy the machine spreading the gas before the chief dies. But the thing is, these bad guys are still after your ass, and you just can't run past them and go for the doors. No! You have to fight them each and every single time you enter and exit the door, wasting more time than you have.
If you manage to rescue the chief in time, you go to the final stage where you can defeat Mr. X once and for all. If you don't make it in time, he dies, but with his last words, he tells you about a fake robot chief Mr. X put in his place. The final stage is in front of City Hall where you expose the fake chief and defeat him. You get a different ending if you take this route.
Huh, City Hall, she says.
We'll get to that part, Johnny.
When you reach Mr. X, you find out that he's been turned into a brain on life support, and he's got bombs all over the city. And the only way to stop those bombs is if you defeat the robot. There's a time limit in the game, and the thing is that if you don't destroy the robot before time runs out, the bombs still go off. So, what do you say? Are you ready, Johnny?
Ready to kick some ass.
Let's try it one more time.
And you call yourselves VideoGameMasters?
Shut up, Angel!
You can also unlock 2 extra characters in the game. The first is Shiva, the boss of the first stage, and Mr. X right-hand man from the last game. Holding down B and start after you beat him and the stage fades to black lets you be able to use him the next time you switch characters. Also, when you face Ryu and his trainer, defeat the trainer but let Ryu escape. He will also be playable the next time you choose a character.
The biggest controversy about Streets of Rage 3 are the differences between the Japanese version and the American version. First off, the heroes had the same color outfits as before, but the US version changed them for some reason. The female enemies were also wearing a lot less in the original version. The US version also skipped out a boss character in the docks named Ash. Well, because he basically took every gay stereotype in the book.
The American version of Streets of Rage 3 had a lot of changes to the plot when you compare it to the original Bare Knuckle 3. For example, in the Japanese version of the game, Mr. X had this new explosive called Roxanne that was never mentioned anywhere in the American version. And not only that, but the chief of police was actually a foreign military general that gives the plot a whole international incident feel. And then the whole thing with the City Hall, that's not City Hall, that's the White House. I mean, what a stupid change is that? I mean, I don't care you have a sign that says City Hall, you can still tell it's the damn fucking White House. I mean, it could say Peter Griffin's house, you can still tell it's the White House. I mean, what a stupid change.
Plus, the game is way harder than the Japanese version. In fact, the American normal game setting is the Japanese hard setting. Like, what the hell?
A fourth game was planned for the Sega Saturn, but since Core Design and Eidos also wanted to make it for the PlayStation 1 and N64, Sega pulled the plug because they didn't want a Streets of Rage game on a non-Sega system. This game would later be known as Fighting Force.
And that's a review on the Streets of Rage trilogy. Double Dragon may have started off the beat-em-up genre, but Final Fight and Streets of Rage helped define it. Well, I'm Mark Rodriguez.
I'm Johnny Rodriguez.
And I'm Angel, snooping as usual.
Of course. Well, thanks for watching.
See you next time. Peter Griffin's house.
Yeah, Peter Griffin's house.
He must be around actually.
Whatever.